Caitlin Clark was not in the women's basketball Final Four. We'll give you the ratings for the championship game, which are down, and we'll put it in context for you. Last night, was it the first of many championships to come for the Florida Gators program? And ESPN, they do it again. They can always work in a LeBron reference, no matter the topic.
Yes.
We're out of the gates ready to go. While you're here, we hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe to the OutKick YouTube page. Chad, Caitlin Clark, a year ago, 18.9 million viewers. The all-time record for those that tuned in to the championship game against UConn. Against South Carolina. And most recently, UConn and South Carolina, 8.5 million viewers. Now, without Caitlin Clark, any game without Caitlin Clark, this 8.5 would be the most watched of any women's basketball game on that setting. But with Caitlin Clark, the numbers are skyrocketing. And it's also on ABC in prime time instead of 3 p.m. Eastern tip-off for that reason.
Yeah, and I saw where Dave Portnoy pointed out, hey, Paige Beckers is white, and so for all the race baiters out there, didn't help the ratings just because she's white, and it wasn't just because Caitlin Clark was white that she had huge ratings at Iowa. I think a little bit of all that goes into it. Here's the tweet, or the X post, still getting used to that, from Dave Portnoy. It's good news for women's basketball. Everything about Caitlin Clark is good news for the sport. I mean, she has driven the profile up of the women's college game. She has drastically improved the profile of the WNBA. And now she has completely raised the floor of what a championship Sunday can be for the women's game. I mean, keep in mind, the last 3 years are the 3 highest rated of all time.
Yeah.
Now, yes, that's a big drop-off from Caitlin Clark's final year to this year.
53%.
That's still a giant leap up from where the women's game was before Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, again, so
I look at it more, if you want to, you can go glass half full, glass half empty here and say, boy, women's college basketball will never be the same and never see a number approaching what we saw with that 18-plus million a year ago.
Right.
That very well may be the case. But the good news is, and Gino Auriemma is actually right about this, she has raised the profile on the floor of that sport up so much that you could still have a disappointment that's over 8 million viewers, which you would have thought was a joke.
Chad, 8.5.
5 years ago.
8.5, middle of the day for women's hoops, middle of the afternoon, and a 20-point game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, a blowout. And they still were able to average 8.5. Again, that would be the most watched game in history without Caitlin Clark involved. You throw Clark into the mix, which the novelty of Caitlin Clark and everyone jumping on board to watch her, you get the numbers that are skyrocketing. And it proves that she's the type of draw everyone was saying she was, except for those with the WNBA or women's basketball media that want to point to other reasons.
And Gino Auriemma says, I know he made a point to say there was more women in the press room at his press conference than he's ever seen before, and he congratulated all of them for covering the sport.
Yeah.
And he also said, we're basically bundled with the Olympic championships in college sports and sold to Disney, ESPN, the rights for it.
Yeah.
He said, maybe it's time we take a look at these ratings and these numbers and put ourselves in a separate category. He's not wrong.
No.
And if Caitlin Clark's lasting impact is that, a 50-something% drop to over 8 million viewers is going to become more of the norm, which I think it could be. We don't know.
Again,
it's 1 year removed. It could go down another 50% next year based on the matchup in the championship game. I don't know. But let's just say it stays around 8+ million a year from now, 2 years removed from Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, she deserves some sort of, Congressional Medal of Honor from the basketball gods for saving the sport of women's basketball and being a bigger boom to ratings than in that sport than anything in history.
Creating it.
Yeah.
In many ways. Like, we were tuned in back in the day for Tennessee UConn.
Yeah, I don't think
But again, I think far too often we view these ratings as a negative. You see 53% drop. This is the highest rated game in the history of the sport without the 2 games that we're talking about with Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
That's going in the right direction.
That's
believe
significant.
It or not.
Yeah,
that's going in the right direction.
That's significant.
So to hell with the negative with this. They're going in the right direction despite not having Caitlin Clark involved. You know how many sports would kill for an 8.5 million average?
Yeah, I think a lot of people assumed
At 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, not ABC?
They would love it. And I think a lot of people assumed, Hutton, that, Caitlin Clark leaves, now you're going to go right back to pre-Caitlin Clark championship Final Four numbers. And that's not the case.
Right, yeah.
I mean, this is still 100% increase from where it was before Caitlin Clark with some of the numbers.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still South Carolina. UConn's back in it. And Gino Auriemma, gets his 12th championship. That's, 70 years old now?
Yeah, he's 71, I believe.
But with Caitlin Clark, I mean, you can't argue against it, no matter who's involved. Now, Paige Beckers is, she averages 18 or 19 points per game. Plenty of good players on the roster at UConn, along with her. I could argue that Juju Watkins is the better player, more well-known right now. Could you say that in college hoops?
Juju Watkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have. I think it would have helped big time had she been the team maybe against the South Carolina or UConn.
I'm saying, do you think it's Beckers or Watkins that's more well-known?
Watkins.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. And
also, I know we want to make this, and I get it, right? Like, okay, white star.
Yeah.
Paige Beckers is not the player Caitlin Clark is.
No, but also,
is anybody putting her in that category? I mean, I don't think that she is.
No, but I mean, we've.
I know she had a year off because she was injured too, but not the same player.
Right, but also just keep in mind, Diana Taurasi at UConn wasn't pulling these numbers.
Yeah,
we could go to other Caucasian females that were at the top of their game, and they're not pulling these type of numbers. Highest rated. That's going in the right direction. And Gino's right; they need to get more money out of it.
The Cheryl Miller Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Caitlin Clark for completely saving a sport and eyeballs on it. And women's game, she's left the women's game, and there's still a Caitlin Clark positive impact. Yeah. And what she's done for the WNBA has been astronomical compared to where they were before she arrived in the league.
No doubt. But one thing they're not doing is moving the 3 p.m. tip-off to 7 or 8 p.m.
And I'm telling you, they need to do everything. I don't want to say the fix is in. Everything. But if you're concerned with your business, you need Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever to be in every possible playoff series as that thing goes through, and they need to be good. You need them to be good. David Stern knew that the NBA needed Patrick Ewing in New York.
LeBron in Cleveland.
And he made sure that Patrick Ewing was in New York. And then years later, he said, boy, it's going to be a good thing if we give the Cavs, a bad team, that number one pick, and the local hero can stay home, and magically
even LeBron buys it.
Yeah.
It's like just a coincidence.
Luka Doncic magically traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the premier franchises in the league with a premier name in the league, and LeBron James. I wonder how this happens.
I wonder how that is.
I mean, if the NBA owns the WNBA, I think they could fix some things too, right?
Well, the NFL.
If the NBA is rigged, they should rig the WNBA too. The Indiana Fever should be in the finals.
The NFL knows this. They just met with Caitlin Clark at the NFL owners meetings. They're going to start a female flag football league, pro.
She's going to be their first quarterback?
No, but she was there to speak on behalf of women's sports.
If Caitlin Clark played quarterback in this pro women's league, I'd probably watch it too.
Yeah, me too.
By the way, comparing this to other college sports, because I was thinking about tying it in with Olympic sports, 8 million was the number?
8.5.
So Tennessee, Texas A&M, Game 3 on ESPN, College World Series, deciding game. It peaked at 3.34 million. Close to 5 million more viewers.
The ad revenue you're getting off that. Tremendous.
Well, and that's where Gino Auriemma is right. That's one area where the television network's probably getting a pretty sweetheart deal out of the women's basketball
because it's all lumped into one big package with the NCAA.
Now, you can't say that about anything else because these numbers are so high. I mean, the NBA, goodness gracious, they're getting gouged. The media partners are in this new deal.
$77 billion over 11
years. Based on ratings. But this is one where, maybe you should revisit that new contract if you can continue with these numbers.
Chad, the numbers are in for Florida. They get their, third national championship. Basketball national champions yet again. And, man, they had to overcome more than just a deficit in this game.
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts watching this game. So, Todd Golden, first off, crazy good job coaching this group this year.
I agree.
I mean, this team had every bit of fight and perseverance and to match the talent on this roster. I think it was Seth Greenberg who said this team has two of everything on Selection Sunday. And he's right. I mean, they're incredibly deep, incredibly talented. Also, shout out to both these teams. Not a single five-star recruit played on Monday night.
Is that right?
Between both teams. Not one five-star recruit for either team. So hats off to both teams.
Now,
for
Walter
making
Clayton Jr. was originally a 0-star, right?
Yeah, went to Iona.
Yeah.
Transferred in from Iona. So, look, teams built a different way. The way Houston was built, the way Florida was built. But both Kelvin Sampson, Todd Golden did an awesome job building that roster. Great fight, great heart, great togetherness, very connected group with Florida. You could see that throughout. Also, a very connected group that had to overcome their coach being hit with a ton of allegations by multiple people in a report during the start of the season that the Title IX investigation at the school later cleared him of. So we'll go by what the Title IX investigation says and say that he's innocent of those charges, but still pretty big distraction early in the season for this Florida Gators team. They're able to overcome that. And I think about the coaching in this Final Four and the coaching in this game from Todd Golden. Todd Golden is a 39-year-old who looks like a student manager with that backwards hat in the press conference. Yeah. He looks way younger than 39 years old. He beat along the way in the Final Four 65-year-old Bruce Pearl, his mentor, a guy he started out in college coaching on the staff at Auburn in the early years under Bruce Pearl. And then he beat 69-year-old Kelvin Sampson in the championship. Trying to put that into context of other coaches that were young when they broke through and won their first.
Okay.
And just what the possibilities are for Todd Golden. Coach K was 44 in 1991 when he won his first title. Jay Wright won multiple titles of Illinois. He was 54 years old when he won his first in 2016. Jay Wright's not that old. Dan Hurley was 47, so 8 years older when he won the first of back-to-back at UConn. Roy Williams in 2005 was 53 years old when he broke through and won that first title for North Carolina.
Okay.
Had chances to win at Kansas too, but never broke through. So if you're trying to look at it historically, Bobby Knight was 35 in 1976 when he won his first title. Jim Valvano never won another one, but he was another young coach to win a title. Also, by the way, coincidentally, beat Houston in 1983 for the national title. I mean, Todd Golden has a chance here to truly be great. Now, he may never win another national title. This may be it, and we look back and say, boy, it was wild that Todd Golden at 39 won a college championship and then 2 years later was coaching the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't know what his future holds. I don't know where he's going to go next. But it's quite the accomplishment. So who's even in his class right now? John Shire is certainly the name that pops up. He's not going anywhere. He's 37, 2 years younger than Golden. Is it Nate Oates? Nate Oates is who we view as a young coach. He's 50. Mark Pope? I think Mark Pope's going to get it rolling at Kentucky quickly, given their resources and history and his connection to that program, and he's a good offensive-minded coach. He's 52 years old. Todd Golden's 39 and just beat a 69-year-old, likely with his last chance to win a national title, would have been his only one, and then beat 65-year-old Bruce Pearl. I don't know that he's getting much closer than those two Final Four trips and losing in the national semifinals. What a job, Todd Golden, and boy, what the future could hold for the Florida Gators.
Man, Florida right now.
And him.
With they've got another 7.5-footer coming in, right? 7 foot.
They got a guy who's
7'5"?
7'9".
I know, but they're
Who, if I may,
7'9".
Just a small complaint here, okay? Because sometimes I have a tendency to get a little too online when I'm watching a game and I'm on social media and seeing all these things, and just things piss me off because I see it over and over. Everybody in media doesn't have to pose for a picture with a 7'9" kid from Florida. That's redshirting and not playing. I can't even pronounce his last name, but he's got a French-sounding name. This kid, Oliver Roux, or whatever his name. He's 7'9". We get it.
7'9".
So, I don't need to see Tracy Wolfson next to the 7'9" guy. I don't need to see every person who's covered an NCAA tournament take a photo next to the 7'9" kid.
Fair.
Every single person got a photo with this kid. And I'm thinking, he's got to get tired of that at some point.
Random fact. First time in the Final Four that all three games featured the team that led at halftime losing the game.
Wow.
The comebacks that we saw.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but that's crazy.
And then Florida, since the Elite Eight or Sweet 16, they trailed by at least 9 points in all those games.
I think that's right. So they trailed by 6 to UConn.
Yes.
They trailed by 8 or 9 and won them. They trailed by 10 to Texas Tech. They trailed by 12 in this one.
And Auburn.
In the national championship, they trailed by 9, I think, to Auburn.
Yeah,
I think it was the biggest. Yeah, they were down 6 at halftime, and then Auburn got it up to 9 at the start of the second half.
The other,
it's impressive. And then once they started to regain, like they went on that big run when it was to 12, and they immediately got it to 3. It was like a 9-0 run in like 40 seconds for Florida, and they were right back in it. But then when they got it there at the end, and it felt like all the balance of that game. It was quickly with Florida with 2 feet on the floor, and Houston was just swimming at that point, could not do anything offensively.
And then you have, you think of opportunities now for coaching. You mentioned Pearl. Every coach is going to be looking at Golden thinking, man, what he's got rolling. I'm how old? I may not have this opportunity again.
I mean, you got to be pissed off.
I mean, especially with the way these games ended.
I don't know how, like, if just the human nature part of it, like, if you're, I know Rick Barnes, for instance, is pissed off for Kelvin Sampson, who's his buddy.
Sure.
Right? Kelvin Sampson even said, if we lose, I hope it's Rick Barnes that wins it. But, I mean, Bruce Pearl, I mean, all these great coaches who were in their mid-60s to early 70s that are looking around like, this boy wonder, let's put his photo up again. This guy, this kid, this child.
He looks like a player. Yes,
he acts like a player. He's out there dropping F-bombs with his players right before the interview comes over. I mean, this is the national champion. This is now the face of college basketball. And deal with it. Like, they're that good. He's that good. This is year 3. Year 3, he just won a national title at Florida. And I know Florida won the 2 titles in 06 and 07. Florida is not some basketball blue blood. They're not Duke. It's expected at Duke. But with John Shire, like Florida, they had their run with Billy Donovan. That's another good example. Billy Donovan, who I'm going to see how old he was.
The last time they went back-to-back, he had a young coach.
But, yeah, I mean, this is not Carolina, Kansas, not even Indiana when it comes to basketball history.
But whenever Dockage pointed this out this morning, like, they've been to more Final Fours than Indiana.
Well, Florida?
Yeah.
No way. I mean, in the last 20 years, maybe. For sure they have.
They've now won their 3rd championship in however many years. What, 20 years?
Yeah, 06, 07, they went back-to-back.
Dockage had to go back a ways to get to Indiana's 3.
Yeah.
Like, again, he was just like, man, this is very telling what Florida's doing. You're pulling it up here?
Yeah, I'm trying to find Billy Donovan's age when he won in 06 and 07.
Well, how long?
So this was 19 years ago. He was 40. So he was a year older.
So it's very similar to those teams.
Yeah. So he's right in line.
Tough, physical,
right in
gritty.
line with. But the difference is he's not going to have everybody come back. Most of his guys will leave and it'll be a totally new team. So Donovan could just run it back in 07 when those guys decided to all come back for one more run at it, and they went on the run and won the national title. That was the year where it was all the pressure was on them because they made the decision to come back and repeat.
To run it back.
And they were the favorite. Chiefs. They were the favorite all year, and they actually did it and cut down the nets.
And it's like they were doing that while football's on top.
Yeah.
They're also winning with Tebow.
It's crazy to me that Billy Donovan is still only 59 years old.
Is that right?
It feels like he should be like in the Rick Barnes.
Yeah, like Bruce Pearl.
Yeah. At least 5 or 6 years older than that.
You mentioned how it's pretty easy to find a photo of the media posing with 7'9".
Yeah.
It's also easy to find First Take working in a LeBron reference wherever possible. And give it up to PK Subban. He did it while discussing the greatness of Alex Ovechkin and setting the great one's record for most goals scored in the NHL. They were able to turn it into LeBron.
But what I'm saying, LeBron's great, but he ain't Kobe, he ain't Jordan for me. So what I'm saying is, it's not about size. You want to talk about 6'9"? I'm talking about the
Jordan's fine. You can't say Kobe. You can't say Kobe.
Well, yeah, I did. I put Kobe ahead of him. Kobe's ahead of LeBron.
I've heard you say this. You base everything on mentality. Oh, they were at the end of the day. A black mamba gets his credit because it's the only snake that will attack you without provocation. But it's not as dangerous as a top hand. It's not as dangerous as a common brown. So what are we talking about here? John Wick kills a lot of people, but so did James Bond. So what are we doing if the job gets done?
Did you well, hold on. Hold on. If we're measuring greatness, let's talk about that. Hold on, Shannon, let's talk about that. Because, Shannon, you've won, right? You've won. Let's measure greatness for a second. If we're measuring greatness, it's not just about the numbers. it's not just about the numbers and the impact on the court for me. For me, it's situational. It's also about the moments, rising to the moment and showing that you are capable of influencing fear into the other team. When I look at great players, that's what they all have the quality to do. I'm sorry. There's nobody in basketball other than Kobe and LeBron that has ever instilled fear in their opponents like those two guys.
Kobe and Jordan.
Kobe and Jordan,
Yes.
excuse me. That's why I have those two ahead of everyone. I'm just saying, that's my opinion.
Eastern Conference, when LeBron was in the Eastern Conference, did they fear him? Ask the teams for that 8-year span in which LeBron James went to every NBA Finals in the East, did they fear him? Because if they didn't,
that's why he's the second greatest of all time.
No, I put Kobe. He ain't had Kobe for me.
Stephen A., we have to go to break. They keep telling me you need to go, actually. But I just want to ask you this, because obviously you've covered basketball the closest. Do you think it's fair to say players feared Jordan and Kobe more than LeBron?
1,000,000%.
I wouldn't say Kobe. Even though mad respect and deference to Kobe. But the only person that was universally feared was Michael Jordan. And I'm telling you what I know. That ain't a guess. You understand me? That's not a guess.
I got some NBA friends too, Steven.
They were actually talking hockey right there.
Yes.
Let me also translate this for you. PK Subban is calling LeBron a pussy.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Put that at the bottom of the screen.
Good translation.
I mean, that's as simple as they hear the word LeBron. It's just, let's go. Let's take this. We're talking hockey here. We're going to translate it to
Lucky
LeBron.
for us, you speak PK Subban, so you can translate that for us about what he's saying. That was my big takeaway from that was I got 40 seconds into it, and I'm like, this was a conversation about Alex Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's goal record.
And Subban was not asking.
Could have fooled me.
He started by discussing Ovechkin and then wanted to discuss why he's the GOAT. And it's because of the physical nature of his game and still scoring at the high level. And he's compared it to the other sports, and that's where they took off on LeBron. So it's amazing how they could turn it into the Lakers, the Cowboys, or LeBron.
I'm going to do something shocking here, Hutton, and actually spin this into something actually positive about the NBA.
Okay.
Which I know is not often discussed on this show with that league. We just came off this massive hit of the Four Nations face-off for hockey, right? Oh, my gosh, these guys get after it. They hate each other. Look at the U.S. and Canada. They're about to start a damn war over this. They hate each other so much. And look how hard they play. And, boy, this is going to be great for the NHL. And, man, the ratings are going to skyrocket. It's a huge sensation in America. And one of the preeminent talk shows in the country gets a chance to talk about maybe the most unreachable of records in the NHL being broken by someone in the same season where the Four Nations face-off happened. And it's immediately spun into a what? A basketball discussion. An NBA discussion. This is a basketball country. I'm sorry to all the hockey fans out there. Hockey is Canadian. Yes, hockey is big in parts of the United States. This is a basketball country. Even PK Subban, who is Canadian and knows that his country is more about hockey, knows that he can pull everyone's interest back in by mentioning LeBron and Michael Jordan. The most tired argument in all of sports media is LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. I don't want to have it on this show ever. That stupid, tired discussion. But I'm also going to say it right now, clearly, where everyone understands it. This is a basketball country. And if you want to get people's interest, you can talk about greats of basketball past versus greats of basketball present, and that's going to be wildly more entertaining than Alex Ovechkin breaking the goals record of Wayne Gretzky. And that's sad, because this is a huge moment in the history of that sport.
And it's a Russian.
And I mean, it's just you got some dynamics with that, some geopolitics going on with him being Russian also. But I mean, come on, it's just not. It's not going to have the same level of interest ever.
No, I mean, let's also say this: we're not talking about what First Take had to say, unless they turn it into LeBron.
No. Well, and
that's just that's the way it is. Like PK Subban is going to do that segment, they move on to the next thing. The next segment is probably LeBron.
I do like how angry PK Subban got over all the people not even considering his Kobe Bryant take, that he's got Kobe ahead of LeBron James. Well, I like the anger with it.
So Ovechkin, the record, Chad.
But I mean, is anybody getting that upset over Alex Ovechkin, that heated over debate about him?
No.
No one I watch.
We're also a football country.
Yeah.
And comparing it to
I'm
the NFL.
just saying between the winter sports, right? I'm not saying that
it's not.
Dude, I know this is going to be clipped, and it's going to probably show me saying America is a basketball country. It's a football country, first and foremost. But I'm talking winter sports. When we're talking basketball versus hockey, it's a basketball country.
No doubt.
It has been. It always will be. It's not changing. I love the Four Nations face-off. It got me invested in the sport and nations going head-to-head. And then the NHL started back, and I didn't care. I did care about this record. I thought maybe ESPN want to talk about it. They didn't. Why? Because it's a basketball country.
First Take it.
Right. I don't know what ESPN does.
Well,
I don't know how
they
much time
did great coverage the night before. Okay. I'll give them credit for that. Ovechkin compared to...
What did Steve Levy had to say about it? That's what
it was Linda Cohn.
Oh, thank you.
Who was in attendance.
Yes, another hockey great.
NFL-wise...
I miss Linda Cohn.
I don't.
I love her.
NFL-wise, no one's going to come close to the type of record we just saw. Passing, rushing, receiving. No one's close to Brady, Emmitt Smith, or Jerry Rice. Tom Brady holds the record for all-time passing yards. He's passed for over 89,000 yards. Aaron Rodgers, Chad, is next up as the active quarterback. Followed by the way, he's at 26,000. 27,000 compared to 89.
So 27,000 lower. Right?
Less.
Yeah. Okay.
Like he's trailing by that.
Yeah. Let's say he's got to have way more than 27,000
He's
yards.
trailing by 26,000. Matthew Stafford and Russell Wilson are next in line. That's how far off. And Mahomes trails Brady by 50,000 right now. Now, he's got longevity, but that's another career. Jerry Rice, nearly 23,000 yards receiving. Closest to him right now active, DeAndre Hopkins. Think about that. Then there's Mike Evans. He would need about 10 more seasons of what he's already done, which is 1,000 yards a year to catch him. And throw in Justin Jefferson. He sits at 8,000 right now. The numbers are just crazy. And he's, by the way, Justin Jefferson is going on his third quarterback in as many years. So, we'll see what happens there. Greatness, but hard to catch it. And then run game, there's Derrick Henry, who's chasing Emmitt Smith. When I say chasing, I'm tongue-in-cheek there because he's got 11,500. Emmitt Smith had 18,000 plus. No one's going to come close to these anytime soon.
Yeah, why do I think that the most reachable of those, I think they're all going to be very difficult to pass, but the most unreachable of those is Jerry Rice's record.
I think it's running back. Because of a two-back system.
Yeah, and what running back has longevity anymore, right? That's going to play that long. I think both, but I do think that Patrick Mahomes has a shot if he plays almost near as long as Brady.
Yeah.
Right? He'd have to play into his 40s to have a chance.
Think about it. It's nuts how far off these guys are.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And,
But we thought the Gretzky record was going to be unbreakable, too.
Well, that's fair. But Ovechkin, by the way, he looks like he's 50.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even 40.
Really?
He's 39.
I feel like Alex Ovechkin has just been...
He is the same age
in the
as
consciousness ever since I've worked.
He is the same age as Todd Golden.
Since I've had a job anywhere, he's been in the consciousness.
Same age as Todd Golden.
Wow.
He turns 40 later this year.
Todd Golden hasn't taken near as many pucks to the face as this guy, though, to be fair.
A lot of gray hairs.
Yeah.
Gretzky looked great.
I told you my cousin was at the game and sat behind the Caps bench. Took a picture of Ovechkin from behind. And, full white hair. Like his hair was, from behind just looked like the team's coach.
Grandfather?
Yeah, right. The coach that just put on, like if they had the full uniform like in baseball that the coach wore on the bench, that's what it looked like with Alex Ovechkin from behind.
Oh.
Look how he's aged from the young Ovechkin.
Got the pimples, acne. What's the acne medicine?
Clearasil?
Clearasil. There you go. He could endorse that for NIL. Stephen A. Smith getting endorsements for president. All of a sudden, he's back in on this.
I love when people. Can we just start announcing that we're not considering?
Well, he said he's not. Then he got the deal.
Big
now
jobs.
He is. He could communicate. He could articulate. He could debate. Who else would they put up there? Newsom?
I don't know. But
They're gonna stop messing around. Life is great.
Especially
at ESPN Disney.
I think Donald Trump shattered the expectation of like who could be the president.
Right.
So I'm never going to say never on anyone. You know, there was talk about, The Rock might run for president.
Right.
President Dwayne Johnson. Right? I mean, Chris Jericho will be his running mate.
Smack us down.
Yes. Y2J will be his running mate.
Linda McMahon.
I never just like mock it and say, that'll never happen. Since Donald Trump's won 2 terms now as president, I wouldn't think when he was on The Apprentice that he was going to be the president one day. So never say never. I just laugh at people who's like, they do their own speculating. Let me address the rumors that I'm going to run for governor of Tennessee by now.
That's what this guy does. I mean, he will speak to the crowd he's in front of. And he's got the entire crowd now. I mean, we cover Stephen A. Smith on a daily basis.
It would be interesting. It'd be interesting. You think Clay would be his running mate? Is that the one thing that would get Clay to go to the Democratic side to be vice president?
To go back.
Next time on a very special, Clay's with us tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
On a very special
Maybe he
hot
runs
mic.
against.
He won't be asked this on his other shows because he's not asked questions on his other shows. He just talks.
Yeah.
On this show, I will ask him if Stephen A. Smith is a centrist and runs down the middle on the Democratic Party, and you think that he has America's best interest at heart, and he says, Clay Travis, will you be one heartbeat away from the Oval Office and be my running mate? Will Clay Travis say yes to that offer? I will put him on the spot tomorrow.
Well, he'll say no. He'll run against him.
Yeah, he'll say, if I'm going to run, I'm going to run for president myself.
Is it Stephen A. and Rogers? Aren't they tight?
I have never heard that.
Because Stephen A. doesn't like the Cowboys. And he's always talking about the bad man, Aaron Rodgers. I think he loves him.
I don't know.
There's your.
Does Aaron Rodgers seem like the type, though, that would be friends with a media member just because they said nice things about him? Because some people, I'm like, they probably reached out, hey, Stephen A., thanks for having my back, man.
Yeah.
I don't think Rodgers is that type.
Well, the back and forth. McAfee.
Well, we know McAfee and Rodgers are boys.
For sure. Speaking of president, you see Ohtani in the Oval Office?
I did.
So the Dodgers were there for their World Series moment.
The celebration.
Yeah, and then
he brings
Ohtani in to the Oval Office. Even had him pose.
Boy, oh boy, what an athlete.
3, 2, 1.
You know what you do? And for your family. This is so great to be to have you. It's a great honor. You're an amazing athlete in person. Have a good time. Take a picture by the Declaration of Independence. It's good. That's a good one.
That's awesome.
3, 2, 1.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Great athlete here. Don't know if you guys have heard about this Ohtani kid.
He did.
But he's got big things ahead of him.
Then he went and homered that night.
I love when Donald Trump's voice gets a little bit higher when he's being friendly.
Yeah.
I love that Trump when he's like, take a picture by the Declaration of Independence, please, while you're here. Well, have you had any of this charcuterie board
we
prepared for you? Please, have some charcuterie.
A year ago, well, a little over a year ago, we would have had Ms. O'Hara there in that photo.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Maybe they would have mistaken him for Ohtani, like the bank.
Yeah. What if Ohtani would have taken that time to talk about tariffs with the president? I'd like to talk about some of these tariffs. In my 401k, please.
Can Ohtani understand him?
He looked like he was getting along fine.
I guess.
He went by the Declaration of Independence when he was directed.
He didn't know that. Here's the
he shook his
celebration.
Hand.
Trump 47.
Does the president never stand for anyone in the Oval Office? I did think about that when he was like having to kneel over to shake his hand when he was just sitting at the desk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is that, I don't know, like, is that like on ceremony? Like the president doesn't stand?
I don't know.
What's
he did
like
do that with Elon.
The common person's reaction to someone shaking your hand is not to stay seated, but to stand up and shake their hand.
That's a good question.
When meeting someone or saying hi, and I noticed that Trump just sat down. But I feel like maybe that's a presidential thing. We'll ask Clay Travis tomorrow. He'll know.
He's done that.
He'll know.
He'll know.
Did Trump stand to shake your hand at any point?
On Air Force One when he walked in the room?
Yeah.
Chad, you know my cyclical NFL draft calendar? I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
I could see the Browns drafting Travis Hunter, trading back in and drafting Shedeur. Now,
double trouble.
Here's Adam Schefter on his podcast. And he is, he's not his podcast. He's on with Ty Schmidt here from Pat McAfee Show. Schefter is the same reporter who said they were going to take a quarterback at 2. Now listen to what he's saying and how many players he mentions here.
Several weeks ago, you said, hey, I think the Browns are going quarterback at number 2, no matter what, given their situation. Now things unfold. It could be Travis Hunter. It could be Abdul Carter. We have no idea. What are you thinking is going to happen at 2 for the Browns?
Well, that's the thing with the draft, Ty. It's a moving target, and it constantly evolves, and teams' needs and desires change along the way as they go through the evaluation process. A couple of months ago, I was of the mind and the impression, based on things people told me, that the Browns were likely to go quarterback. And they were. But that was because they wanted Cam Ward. And Cam Ward isn't going to be there at number 2. And so once they realized that, they came off that. And then we shifted to Abdul Carter, where there were a lot of people that felt like the Browns were going to take Abdul Carter and match him opposite Myles Garrett. And you know what? They still could. They still might. But the latest intel now is that I believe Travis Hunter is the more likely pick at 2 today, a couple of weeks out of the NFL draft for a couple of different reasons. I think the Cleveland Browns watched him on Friday at his pro day, and they saw somebody that could move like nobody else. I think that going into that day, they viewed him as somebody they could play at wide receiver, and I think sprinkle in defensive back. So I think he could play 2 ways for them, but I think they may think of him more as a receiver than a cornerback, and they're going to need him to concentrate. And I think he brings them some star power, and there are a lot of people who believe he is the single best player in this draft. So there's a lot of reasons why we could see him going number 2, but it is kind of interesting that I feel like it's shifted from the quarterback to Abdul Carter to Travis Hunter today, and who knows if and when it'll shift again before the draft.
And it will. It'll get back to Shedeur.
Oh, that was so good.
But Travis Hunter and Shedeur with a chance to be teammates. The sons of Sanders.
Schefter channeled a little Donald Trump there. It was like, this guy
He
moved
did.
unlike
He
anybody
did.
they've ever moved before. Best movement ever seen.
Ever.
This guy, Travis Hunter, incredible. We're going to have John McClain on here shortly. I love that John McClain does like 5 versions of his mock draft.
Yeah.
And he outwardly admits, I do
Every
it
time.
this way so I get it right at least one of the times.
Yeah.
And I can go back and say, well, I told you that the team was going to draft this guy, because if you have 5 different choices at every pick, you're going to get there. We just heard Adam Schefter go through every possibility.
I'm telling you,
for the Browns. I could see them
timeline.
drafting him, and I could see them drafting here.
My cyclical timeline
Really
is legit.
fun.
Here we are. April 7th is when this dropped. And he's naming 4 players and moving away from the quarterback at 2.
Hutton has in his hands this document he created with this draft cycle.
Yes.
It's essentially the Biff Tannen sports
And
almanac
we're on a
from
clock.
Back to the
We're
Future
like,
2,
we're like
where
10
he can
o'clock
tell
right
the
now.
future.
Yeah.
So you could bet. There are betting markets
will-
on what Adam Schefter is going to say next.
Yeah.
Hutton's got the answers in this almanac.
Now it's going to be, will the Saints trade up to 2 to get Sanders?
Shedeur Sanders to the Saints
That's
at
the
2.
next. That'll be the next thing.
John
But-
McClain knows how to get it done, because
John
he just
does.
gives you a bunch of versions, and he'll tell you, I'm eventually going to get it right if you do enough mock drafts. And he's right.